the flow for the night. We are not doing questions during the presentation. And when we do get to that point, we'll talk a little bit deeper about the interactive portion, but we really want to stress that, like we did the last time, this is a more informal setting so that we can have this interactive and Q&A time with you that we cannot have at city council meetings, but we need everyone to be respectful. We need to not interrupt. If you're speaking at your turn to speak, and then also making sure there's a lot of people here, that there's an opportunity for maybe not everyone, but for people to all be able to have a time to speak. So we just ask that everyone is respectful with their time and their words and their format in the Q&A portion. All right. Also, we have restrooms. There's one back here and one back over there. They are both for anyone. So if you need to use the restrooms, those are there. Doors in the back and one up here, as well as snacks and waters if you need anything. All right.
All right, thanks, Dana. So, again, to introduce myself, Fred Perbola, City Manager. Want to start the evening by having a conversation before we get into a little bit more of the detail on why we're even here. So how did Suisun end up where we are today, looking and exploring expansion of this project as part of our larger economic development plan. So I got to Suisun about 18 months ago. Knew when I came in as city manager that I had a city that had a pretty wonderful campus, but really needed to move forward on some big initiatives to help it be sustainable, to provide the level of service that is required of a community like Suisun City, and that wasn't happening. And it wasn't happening because of really economic resource reasons, not because a lack of desire from city council or a lack of desire from the staff itself.
Great, but as I understand it, the Foundry is just a name and a piece of empty land. What companies have actually committed, if any, to JLL that they will open manufacturing facilities within the Foundry? Will the names of specific companies be announced before the City Council approves the project? Yes or no?
Yes, at that point we'll have, I think, the ability to announce publicly names of those companies. I cannot, and nor is my place to do that right now. There are, and they're engaged with the developer on those conversations. But by the time we get to council approval, which is ways away, yes, I'm confident we'll have the ability to name at least those first wave of companies that want to come in and build and create jobs in the Foundry.
All right, another question in the back here.
Hi, Brett. You mentioned about respecting democracy when you were talking earlier. Well, the thing is that Solano County voted no. Well, they almost voted no. Unfortunately, California Forever retreated upon seeing snap polling showing that 70% of Solano County would vote no. Significant amounts would have voted no. However, California Forever was given a legal mechanism to usurp those voices of the people to then use you guys as a backdoor for their capital investment. Now the thing is that you're talking about how you don't know what's going to happen next. All these steps that are supposed to mitigate what Silicon Valley messed up on, it's not going to work. What's going to happen is there's going to be a jobs and housing imbalance for 20-some years. This is basically a massive house of cards that at any moment within 70 years can collapse down upon us. And now their capital venture,
I think we need a question, sir.
They're venture capitalists. They have their exit already assured. They're just going to resell the due-risk land once it's all finished, if it collapses. However, when it collapses, we're going to have to deal with that. And now my question is, as an impartial city manager, is can you detail all of the risks that can happen if this fails in the next 70 years?
So I think you're making a lot of assumptions there that I just don't want to go down that road because the data so far doesn't tell me that those assumptions are correct. So the data we've had in the specific plan and all that information, the data that we have when it comes to conversations and meetings we have, it's not what's coming out factually, so it's important that we stick to that. The ability to go through the normal process is what everyone wanted to do. We wanted oversight, we wanted the ability to walk through the normal process, a vote whether we believe it would then or later, if they were to try it again, get passed, they would have basically usurped all of the guardrails that I talked about. And so I've heard this term backdoor used a lot. Like, the annexation process is normal. It is about the most normal thing when it comes to land development that you can do in a municipal jurisdiction. And that is what we're going through here. We're putting the guardrails, we're using data and facts to guide us. We're not making assumptions. I'm not villainizing people for who they are or aren't. We are letting the data and the experts that we hired to do this work for us, to defend us in the process, and to make sure we can get the best project possible is how we're walking down the path. And so I just choose to not go down this like sensational process, honestly, because as an impartial city manager, that's my job. My job is to do that. You can laugh all you want, but I've been doing this a long time at a real high level because I've been good at what I do and because I've been fair at what I do. And I'll stand by that, every day of my career.
We have a question back here.
Thank you.
Hello, my question is, the cities are built all over the country, different times. In comparable cities that have been built like this, and you said this is going to be a 20-year plan and a 20-year phase, in comparable cities to this, processes from beginning to end, like EIRs and the like, how long does it typically take for, say, a first project to start? In comparable.
It so depends on the development and how you do it. It can be from like application to first we refer to as stick in the ground, meaning you got through council approval, annexation. It could be as quick as 3 years if you have all your ducks in a row and all the information plays out right. It can be as long as 30 years in some cases, depending on the project. So the growth we're talking about in the first 20 years is some comparables are West Sacramento. Senator Cabalden did that in his entire time as mayor. West Sacramento is a very good comparable to how we would grow in the first 20 years. And I would say most people, including Senator Cabalden, would say that's a success. So West Sacramento, Elk Grove. And if you look at Elk Grove, I would say that's a pretty darn nice place to live. They've got good public safety, they have good schools, they have good housing dynamic, they have great police, some of which we're going to mimic in some of their ways. They use drones to deal with police costs going down and safer communities. So Elk Grove and West Sac, I would offer to all of you as an answer to your question, are great case studies to go back and see the growth over a 20 or 25-year period and the success they had, which is exactly the growth level that we're talking about here in Suisun.
I have a question on your left.
Thank you.
I was wondering, was there any grandfathering of businesses that are already here to protect it from new competition coming in?
Yeah, so what we've had from California Forever is, I've talked to them about how we don't gentrify what's already been these great businesses that have been in Suisun City for so long. In fact, the opposite. They've started to engage business owners around about how they can bring in things that would enhance the ability to get more people down here, right? More people means Athenian Grill and Cast Iron and some of these great restaurants, Babs, yes, we all love our ice cream. How we can accentuate and make them better, along with other businesses like that in this area. It's important that the foundation that has built this community and the beauty and the grit that I love about Suisun City is maintained and enhanced as we move forward. That's why this stair-stepping approach to the development agreement, where current Suisun gets benefit along with the journey of the expansion, is so important, because we can see facade improvements where the city can come in and give a $100,000, $200,000 grant to an old building to make it now blend better with what we're doing in new, which enhances the businesses below it. There are so many ways we can look to enhance it. So yes, that is on the list of things as we get to the development agreement that we want to ensure is maintained.
One other thing, so just making sure that if they can be grandfathered in, so they're not competing with somebody who has all this money and they don't have that money. There's going to be protection.
We're gonna work on a process that legally allows us to help. I mean, we can't. The law doesn't just let us not deal with anything, but when we get facade improvement programs, business improvement programs, talk to them about what businesses come in downtown that would be adjacent benefit to those businesses, that is absolutely paramount, not just for me as city manager. That has been clear to the council in my one-on-one meetings with them. It's very top of mind for them as well, all 5 of them. Yep.
Okay, right here.
Thank you. Sorry, that didn't sound right. I understand that your answers are a little mushy right now because you're so early in the process. You can't have all the answers to everything.
So we have to keep some consideration for that. But having said that, there's a lot of anxiety in the room over where you stand and where the city council stands on key issues that affect everybody. And my question to you is, why haven't you guys given us your line in the sand? Your line in the sand in terms of no data centers, because we don't want to see electricity rates going up. Your line in the sand on CFE doesn't get one drop of our water because there is no extra water when there's a drought. Your line in the sand, and this is not going to be a walled city, which we've heard rumors of. Your line in the sand that the environmental groups in our community that have done such a good job in trying to protect our community are going to be key components in the design of this new city. Your line in the sand on traffic, that if the reports come back that this project is going to cause a 15% or 20% increase in traffic, you guys are going to kill the deal because that's your line in the sand. I've got a list of like 12 questions. If you would put that document together and if it agreed with the community, you'd probably have the entire community on your side. I mean, am I right? Would you guys agree with that?
So part of that is we evolve that. Thank you. I will take this. Part of that is we evolve this. I'm going to put it down here just so I don't lose it. We evolve as we get project information. So the specific plan is a good piece of that. And I think from the elements of the specific plan, you'll see that there will be a water analysis that makes sure we have to maintain water for the specific plan area, but also in drought conditions, right? We talked about traffic and how that's assessed. We talked about what businesses will or will not come in. And so a lot of that is evaluating as the project comes into play. Look, our job is to protect, as I mentioned, that balance of ensuring that the current residents aren't impeded by the progress of an expansion. We talked about a development agreement wanting to be this stair-step approach, so it's not a walled-off city, it's not separated from our community, to make sure that your rates aren't impacted in water or sewer because of the developments that they want to do. All of that is going to be taken into consideration. So part of it is you have to remember there's due process. We also can't hold on. I know, but hold on. I'm getting, if the city council takes a line in the sand like that before the project is delivered to them, we get due process issues that are going to get us sued. So we go through this process because we understand those guardrails will come out as the process evolves. But for we to prejudge that or the council to prejudge it, we're going to put ourselves in a liability that we can't. I think if you listen to what I'm saying or Director Bermudez is saying, we're putting in those guardrails, we're putting in those parts of the conversation that happen as they evolve. They can't just be drawn in the line today. That is not how development works. That is not how due process works. We cannot do that under due process, and they have a right to that due process just like anybody else that does development does in any community. I get what you're saying, I have it, I understand it, but we can't just do that. It is unlawful to do just that, like what you just said.
Okay, next question.
Yes. I know you're the city manager, and this is going to be a little bit different kind of question than most of the questions here tonight. I know you have to deal with the particulars, the kind of the nuts and bolts of the procedures and so forth. And my view is that the California Forever has done a terrible PR job. And because what I think is what's being proposed is really something magnificent. That really we need to get people thinking big about how people can live a different kind of life with good jobs that can support families. We haven't had that. We've lost that. You know, we used to have where one family could be supported by one wage earner, and we have the potential for that again with good jobs, good productive. Anyway, I think I know you had to deal with the kind of the nuts and bolts and stuff. I'm wondering, are there people on the city council or the mayor or anybody who has a kind of a bigger vision that can put out, kind of educate the public about what this really can do for people?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say council giving me the authority to explore this with staff is partially that bigger vision, some of which, as I just answered the last question, council has to be very careful because they act as in a judiciary, quasi-judiciary process when they approve a project. They can't be just out there going, gangbusters on yay, nay, whatever. They have to be unbiased in their process to get here. So that's a little bit of why you don't see it and why we're trying to do some of that. I again will really think about everybody in this room, and we're going to continue to talk about this publicly, is look at West Sacramento, look at Elk Grove, look at how they develop, look at the benefits it did to the community. In the case of West Sacramento, it's prime farmland that they expanded into. Different issue than what we're doing here, but same concepts of what they were trying to do, what Senator Cabaldi was trying to do, and the outcomes that happen there and the benefit you see there. The Bridge District is a very perfect example of that continuing on today still. And so to your point, yes, I think we globally, and I'll take responsibility for that, need to do a better job of the visioning of this, but it's gonna have to be probably from me and less from the council because of the legal ability for them not to get too far down the road on the project before they make a decision on it. But great question, and I appreciate the feedback.
Brett, I have a question over here on your left.
Okay, I'm here again, and in conjunction with what this gentleman was saying over here, why would the city council continue in a direction where the community said no, they didn't want it, through polls, through voting? And is it the city council knows more than the community that's saying no, we don't want to do it?
So I would say that there's been no vote, right? So I know we hear that a lot. There was a lot of vote, like we voted to not do this. There's never been a vote. I think it really depends. I am out in the community a lot and having conversations, so is council, and the tenor is very different. I would say that it's not no, and it's not all the way yes, and there's a lot of people in we'd like you to evaluate it so we can see what happens. I'll give you an example. When we did the polling on Measure S, like official, scientific, these people do this for a living polling, right? It showed that we would maybe get 53% of that vote. We got 72, right? Because it's really a place and time and a part of the conversation. That's why we're doing what we're doing tonight. So, say that again?
Is it money? You're running out of money, and so you do that?
Well, that's part of the discussion I said about the why is sustainability for service delivery for communities at the size and scale of Suisun. Even if we were to develop that infill, remember, there's not enough. So expansion is how you do it. That is the natural course of events, right, with the community in the state of California. And so exploring this is that natural course of events. Whether, again, ultimately it happens or not, that is a vote to still be determined. There is, as Mr. Bermuda said, there is a lot of information still to come on that. But the council's responsibility is to think 30, 40, 50 years ahead, right? They're thinking for the generation that's not even born yet. And so their responsibility is to say, to bring the jobs, to bring the ability to not have to commute an hour each way to live, to be able to afford a house if you want to buy it because we have scale to build that many, to have the commercial and entertainment and in your own backyard. They, I think, have a responsibility to explore it. And they're not afraid to say, what could it be? If the answer may be no, ultimately, but the answer also may be yes. And I, as a city manager, would feel like they weren't doing their job if they didn't say, let's at least analyze and explore it. And that's what's happening here. We're going down the path.
Next question right here.
Hi there, just quickly, the plan revolves around Foundry, and there's a note about existing railroad, but there's no definition, discussion about what happens to the existing operator of that railroad, California, or Western Railway Museum. Has anybody talked to them since you're about to?
You know, we're early in the process. I'll look to Director Bermudez. I don't know if we had that conversation yet or not.
So there is a railroad, as you identified, and as far as discussions, my understanding, just on preliminary discussions with the applicant, is that there are talks to activate that railroad or spur, whatever, maybe short line, whatever you want. Yeah, so, but, okay, ready active is what I'm hearing. So the point is, yes, there could be integration with the Foundry. That's the best answer. Do I have any more information at this point? No, I don't.
We have about 10 minutes left for Q&A time.
So you spoke about jobs, and I see that build tech, robotics, industrial automation. When we hear those words, there will be no job created. When automation, that means you can see big warehouse, only robots working, not people from Suisun will be working in those warehouses. So my question to you, This is illusion to me as economists. You're selling the illusion to the people because there will be no job created. If those jobs are created, those houses would be unaffordable. You're going to have more homeless. You're going to have more people being kicked away from this community. So you choose the wrong location. So my question, how come you did not assume what if a statement is not going to happen, but your if statement is going to happen by more companies are going to come?
So my if statement is based off facts with global experts like JLL, who's here, and showed you all that states like Texas and other states and other areas of California, the people are what they need to come to those manufacturing plants. If that was the case, they would not have people or build the scope and scale of homes and communities that they're doing in other states and other areas of California if they didn't need people. They still need people, and for the very, very, very distant future, believe they're going to need people. So my assumption is based off of facts in the industry that's happening, not just a sensational comment. And that's the difference from my perspective, is that I'm using data and information and things going on in the world to drive the comments that I make. But thank you for your
Question
over here on the right, Brett.
Yeah, thank you. I want to ask a question about planning, being a professional planner. So here's California Forever. Current zoning is entirely agriculture. You are proposing to build an Oakland-sized city separated from the current Suisun city by 7 miles of undevelopable property. You're proposing to commit the city of Suisun and the Fairfield Suisun School District to build 70 schools at a cost of $5.9 billion. You're committing to a new sewage treatment plant at $1 billion. My question is how you are proposing to build a city the size of Oakland using not a comprehensive general plan redo, but a 30-page minor general plan amendment that you would do for a parking lot. My question is, how can you justify violating every planning principle in the state of California by having a cherry stem annexation and a leapfrog development, a city separated with 2 lobes by an area that is undevelopable because of Travis Air Force Base. In addition, because of Travis Air Force Base restrictions, you cannot build north of Flannery Road. You cannot build schools north of Flannery Road.
So Jim, happy to answer your question. So if you don't know, Jim DeClo and I think very differently about this, so let's just start there with everybody. But I appreciate your enthusiasm and always have. So a couple of things, and I'll let Deputy City Manager Bermudez, because he is the actual planner. I came from the finance world, just to make it clear. So a couple of things. Number one, the Travis Protection Zone is to protect Travis. Having a little bit of distance between each part of a community. One lake in Fairfield is there's distance, a very significant distance between that and urban Fairfield. In fact, many cities grow so big that it just takes you a long time to get from one end to the other of a city, whether it's developed or not. I think there's some level of irrelevance to that piece of it. I think, you use words like cherry stem, you use words like leapfrog. I get that serves your purpose, but I think it's a little sensationalist in how you're characterizing it. I think we are looking to create a plan that, if it works, protects Travis Air Force Base for forever, right? We are evaluating and have done a lot of work and expect CF to do a lot of work as well on how, relative to Travis and the ALUC plan, this all ferrets out. And I think you see that in the way and the shape of the industrial zone, right? We made sure that flight path was not going to be impugned by that industrial zone shape. And so we've addressed that. The other issue is, generationally, as we look at this is an opportunity for the current and the next generations to come to have the housing and the jobs that people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s got that as JLL mentioned, kind of stopped. And we're providing those opportunities again. And if it is not exactly the way we've done development 100% in the state of California in the past, I say some of that's good, because we've sucked at it as a state, in my opinion. Jobs and housing leave here because we have done a really bad job of balancing balance and growth to help human beings, right? I use this example a lot. Protecting everything at the detriment of humans and jobs and family and housing is not serving anybody. The other way of just concrete jungle everything doesn't serve anybody either. It's a balance of a scale that we need to look to find. And that's what part of what we're exploring is how do we find that balance? So I would love, Jim and I have had this talk, we don't want to, we've agreed to disagree, but I think having a real dialogue about how we have solutions instead of accusations, I think can bring this further along. I would love to have Sierra Club and others at the table to have those real conversations to get solutions instead of kind of the no, we don't want anything. I would rather say, but what could happen here that's a balance that we all can enjoy.
Okay, so we have time, wait, excuse me, we have time for 2 more questions.
You know I'm right.
No, actually I don't.
Okay.
Actually I don't.
Let's go ahead and focus. 2 more questions, thank you.
Brett, on your left here, can you, in 10 seconds, just clarify the 400,000 Oakland size city? Real quick, 10 seconds.
So no problem. So that's not what's happening. Mr. DeClos is the one that's coined that term to have it go everywhere. Again, we are stopping the specific plan at 150,000 people, and then it's reassessed for approval, so it's not a 400,000 Oakland size city. So you're not right, Jim.
Perfect. We got one more question right over here.
Mr. Brett, if this project, I'm over here actually. If this project does go through, do you plan on building a VA clinic for the veterans?
So I think there's a lot of things that will happen as part of that DA community benefit side. We have to look at how we would deal with unhoused regions. So regionally, here comes the benefit. Great question. VA, we should look at universities coming in potentially to have more schools with Solano and others. We should look at homeless shelters. We should look at providers along that. We should purpose build those into the community as part of the development.
Let's keep the conversations down so we can hear, please.
Because part of why cities struggle addressing all those things now is they kind of get shoehorned in at the end instead of being thoughtful in the beginning. Including, opportunities to partner with faith-based organizations that provide these services as well. I mean, there are so many opportunities. I've talked with, a variety of those as well. It needs to be all of the above. So building a city is not just about homes and businesses and industrial parks. It's all of the things you talk about, and that development agreement that Deputy City Manager Bermudez mentioned is where we codify the requirements of the developer to partner with us to do all of these things. So yes, big picture, the detail of all that will come as we kind of evolve in the months to come. A great question.
Brett, we have one final question back here. This will be the last question of the night. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a Suisun resident, and what I really value is our community. Not just within Suisun, but as in the whole county, Solano County. And so my concern is how do we preserve the makeup of what is existing here, the existing community, the businesses, the people who are already here and who have been here. You speak of building a foundry industrial park that will bring many new jobs, and I feel like that is kind of a buzzword because it sounds like it'll be a lot of startups coming from the Bay Area, right? New innovation, talent from the Bay Area coming in. And so you may not be aware, but 90% of startups statistically fail. So these will be businesses who will be coming in, not guaranteed to succeed, and possibly just cycling in and out, in and out. So it's not stable jobs. And furthermore, these jobs you speak of are for the defense industry, for the AI industry. And I don't think that's a diversified enough economy. Here in Solano County, what we are known for, what distinguishes us, what makes us separate and
I'm sorry,
unique.
what's the question?
I'm getting to the question. What makes us unique is that we are an agricultural land. That is our value here. And so in making this new industry, I'm not saying that we shouldn't say no to it completely, but how do we balance that in preserving the current makeup of our county while also making sure that these new jobs that are being developed come from actually our existing people? So businesses here, how are you uplifting businesses here, not just startups from the Bay Area coming in and leaving?
So,
and that's a continual cycle.
Yeah, so I will say, and I have an awareness of the businesses that are interested in the foundry, so does JLL, even though I can't publicly say that yet. They're not all startups by any means. They're some of the largest manufacturer companies in the world. So again, I don't think we should use assumptions. I think we should use facts as best we can. So I think that's number one. I think number two, we talked about the development agreement. We talked about the development agreement is going to ensure that current Suisun is balanced with community benefit along with the expansion. So I think that there's a way we protect it and codify it, frankly, in a development agreement, which is exactly how you want to do that with any development, and especially one of this size. And then when we talk about agriculture, yes, it's a big part of what we do in this county, but it's the 5th largest part of our economy, right? It's the 5th. So I know we speak of it like it's the 1st, but it's the 5th. And when we talk about yield for food, we're about to go into significant food scarcity because of the government shutdown for many, many seniors and many people across our region, 55,000 people in this county alone. We have an ability through urban farming and other things to provide a yield that is exponentially better than what happens in that project area right now, which is next to 0. So when we want to talk about bringing jobs and agriculture together, that's how we do it. We don't do it the way we've always done it, but we do it a way that will yield better for the people in this community on both food insecurity, on agricultural modernization and opportunities, as well as manufacturing jobs. And so the balance of both is going to happen here.
So we will, okay, so that's a great, okay.
So
We are gonna be having more of these meetings. That was the point of this event, and so we'd like to continue to have the engagement. Thank you all for coming. We hope you have a great night.